Is what we consider good just whatever we have positive feelings about? Let's consider. Hello, philosophers. I'm Chico. Welcome to the Philosopher's Show, where we consider the greatest questions of human history. So the other day, I was surfing the clock tower in San Clemente, and I saw two guys getting into it. And apparently one had burned the other. And for those of you guys that don't know, burning somebody in surfing is when you just cut them off. You know, so one guy was surfing down the line, and another guy cut him off, apparently. I don't know what. I didn't actually see it happen. So the guy that got burnt was doing really the arguing, and the guy that did the burning had this look on his face like he had done nothing wrong, you know? And it was interesting because I was thinking, you know, what would the guy that got burnt say to him to convince him that he was wrong? I don't really know, you know, like, do you say, well, there's a list of rules out there that on this list is thou shalt not burn other people, and you violated this rule? Where's this list? You know, there are different theories on what it is that makes something wrong. And we debate those things, right? We disagree about those things. But one thing that was not debatable, one thing that was for sure was that guy was pissed, right? So our view today is actually going to take that fact that we can't debate on and use that as the cornerstone of its ethics. Emotivism says that to say something is good is really just to express your positive feelings about it, and to say something is bad is to express your negative feelings about it. So to say something is good is like saying, yay, that thing, right? Yay for sharing waves. That's what it is to say sharing waves is good. And to say burning people is bad is really to say boo, boo, burning people. And in general, morality is just your feelings. It's just you emoting. It's just you giving out your feelings. It's just you expressing your feelings. Moral statements lack truth value. So this is where it's different from subjectivism. Subjectivism, you may have thought the two sounded similar, but in subjectivism, saying something like it is bad to burn somebody is either a true or a false statement. It's just dependent upon you, right? It depends upon your feelings. But here, it's not true or false. It's just, you're just saying, yay, burning people, or boo, burning people. That's all that it is. So it's not true or false. And how could that one guy convince the other guy that he shouldn't have burned him? By trying to change his feelings so that he would cheer for the same thing. So he would say, yay, sharing waves, or yay, getting out of the way when somebody is on the wave already, and boo, burning other people. So it's just a matter of getting people to cheer for the same things that you're cheering for. That's where we get moral agreement from, and that's how we do moral reasoning. Now, the idea of emotivism came from philosopher A.J. Ayer. And A.J. Ayer was specifically a logical positivist. He wasn't the only logical positivist, but he's the one that sort of developed this in one of his books. And for him, emotivism was just sort of the ethical arm of logical positivism. So logical positivism makes a very specific claim, which is that any genuine truth claim is either empirical or analytical. Empirical means testable by sense experience, and analytical means true by definition. So, for example, water is H2O. That's an empirical statement. You look through a microscope and you see, is water H2O? All bachelors are unmarried men is analytical. That's true by definition. Bachelor just means an unmarried man. So saying all bachelors are unmarried men, that statement is just true by definition. So that is the major claim of logical positivism. Now, moral statements are not empirical or analytical. They're not empirical because you can't look under a microscope and find good and evil in there, right? It's not something that you can perceive. So it's not something that, we can verify through sense experience. And it's also not analytical. Saying burning people is bad burning people does not contain bad in the definition of burning people, right? So it's not an analytical statement. So moral statements are neither empirical nor analytical. That means that moral statements are not genuine truth claims. And if they're not truth claims, then what could they be? A.J. Ayer says they are just emotings. They're you expressing your emotions, and that's all. So this argument supports emotivism just by getting us to the conclusion that moral claims are not genuine truth claims. But logical positivism suffers from a fatal flaw, which is that it's self-refuting. So take that premise, the major premise that we talked about, that main premise, I should say, that we talked about, that any genuine truth claim must be empirical or analytical. All right, so that was premise one. Now, is premise one empirical? Can you verify that by your sense perceptions? Can you verify that this is true? No. Is it analytical? Is there something in the definition of genuine truth claims that has empirical verification and analytical statements in it? No, the two don't mean the same thing. So therefore, by virtue of its own criteria, it is not a genuine truth claim. But that's a problem, right? The main premise of all logical positivism that we're using to prop up emotivism is not true. It's not false either. To be clear, it wouldn't be true or false. So logical positivism is not a good argument to support emotivism. That doesn't mean that emotivism is wrong. It doesn't mean it's false. It means logical positivism is false. In fact, the logical positivists all abandoned their view a long time ago. But emotivism is still around because it doesn't rest necessarily on logical positivism. Another argument that you could make for this claim is that it is a simple theory that explains a lot. So we can sort of give an Occam's razor-ish kind of, explanatorily strong kind of argument. So simple because it cuts off all claims for moral facts, right? If we believed in moral facts, things like it is morally wrong for you to burn somebody, then that is something that we have to account for, right? What makes this morally wrong? What exactly is morally wrong? There's a lot of stuff, a lot of baggage that you have to, deal with. It's going to be probably like a property of a thing or some kind of external reality that makes it wrong. But on emotivism, we're just throwing out all moral facts. We're just saying, no, they don't exist. So very simple, right? Now we don't have to explain all those moral facts. Not only that, but it explains a lot because it explains, first of all, why it's so hard to define what good is, because good is nothing but emotions. Emotions are so confusing. And it explains why we disagree so much on what's good and what's bad, because what's good and bad is just emotions, and emotions can vary so much. So this explains a lot. One drawback, though, to this argument is that it comes at the cost of moral facts then. So even if you get explanatory benefit, even if you get simplicity, then if we still hold that these moral facts are true, if we still hold that burning somebody is wrong, then it doesn't matter how simple or how great it explains, right? It still is going to be wrong. So this would be like something like cosmology is very difficult, right? There's all kinds of crazy models on how the universe began and on how it works and everything. You know what would be a lot more simple is if we just said that everything is an illusion and it's being had by a simple being. So there's just one simple entity and it's having this illusion, but there really is no complex universe out there. That would be a very simple solution, and it would account for how there's, inexplicable things out there because it's just an illusion, right? It would account for a whole lot. It'd be a very simple answer, and yet if the universe is really out there, it would just be wrong. So it doesn't matter how simple it is. It doesn't matter how well it explains. It's still going to be wrong if the universe exists. So if we feel that there still are moral facts, then it doesn't matter, how great this explains or how simple the explanation is. It's still going to be a wrong explanation. Okay, so now let's look at some objections to this view. So the first one is that it halfway fails the Hitler test. Now, we saw on cultural relativism and on subjectivism that they failed miserably the Hitler test. They said that so long as it's culturally accepted, or if it's like a taste that Hitler has to commit genocide, then that would be the right thing to do. And that seems crazy. On this view, Hitler saying genocide is good is not true. It's not true, because all he's saying is yay genocide. He's just cheering for genocide. So it's not a true statement. So Hugh kind of passes in that respect. But then it fails in another respect, and that is that it can't say that genocide is evil. It seems like we should be able to say that, right? It seems like when we say genocide is evil, that should be a true claim, but really the same thing goes for us. All we're saying is boo genocide. And that ends up being just a cheering match. You know, are you cheering for or against? There is no really good or evil here. There is no right one to cheer for or wrong one to cheer for. It's just you're cheering for somebody. And unfortunately for us, the Nazis had really good cheering section, you know? I mean, they were full of propaganda and convincing storylines, and they did a really good job in that respect. Unless you can say that it's actually wrong, no matter what your propaganda says, to commit genocide, then it seems very dangerous too. A second objection, and I think this is a devastating one, is that you can have good without having emotions. So when you burn somebody, I get upset, right? I mean, even if I don't say anything, I will get pretty... In my heart of hearts, I get pretty angry. I don't know why, but like that's a big deal. But if you, let's say, steal something, I don't get so mad. I don't tend to be upset about that. And I realize that I should be more upset than I am, but it just doesn't get me emotional. And yet, I think you're morally wrong for stealing something. And I'm not even really sure if you're morally wrong for cutting somebody off, right? I don't know. I mean, maybe barely, but that's not like a big deal. You know, I wouldn't say that was awful. So it seems like we can have things that are good or bad without having emotions attached to them. It's bad to steal stuff, and yet I don't feel like I'm saying boo stealing, right? I'm not all that upset about it. Or if you cheat on your taxes, you know, I'm not like boo cheating on your taxes. I still think it's wrong. And vice versa, we can have heavy emotions without something being good or bad. So if somebody out paddles me for a wave, I get really upset. Now, if somebody out paddles me for a wave, it's their wave. They've done nothing wrong. In fact, they're doing the right thing. And yet I still get really angry about it, you know? So it seems like on this view, I should be saying that you getting that wave was wrong, right? Because I'm saying, boo, you getting that wave. And yet I don't think it's morally wrong that you got that wave. It's not morally wrong. I mean, that's according to the surf etiquette. So yeah, it is your wave. So we can have good without emotions, and we can have emotions without good. That looks like good and emotions are not identical. So therefore, emotivism must be false. That's all for emotivism. Let me know if you have any questions, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, etc., etc. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.